Welcome to Sat Chats, the Bitcoin podcast where we chat about sats. Sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, the same way pennies are the smallest part of a dollar. With Sat Chats, we are building the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center to serve as your gateway to generational wealth. So if you are brand new to Bitcoin, we want to chat about sats with you. Head to satchats.com to grab your slot in the studio today. I'm your host, Stuart Bitcoin Maxi, who wears prescription sunglasses to protect you and your loved ones from my Bitcoin laser eyes.
And I'm your co-host, Chris, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus, proud multi-coiner and Bitcoin smash buyer. Head over to the Sat Chats YouTube channel and hit subscribe. Smash it like I smash by Bitcoin. If you do, you'll be entered to win 1 million sats as long as you're one of our first 1,000 subscribers. We're at about 550, so you still got some room in there. You could get there. You got to do it now, though. You don't want to be subscriber 1001 because then
no sats.
No, sorry. Also, when we get to 1,000 subscribers, we will unlock a live Friday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time show. Me, Stuart, you, we're all going to be there.
Sats.
Going
chats.
to be phenomenal. Also, okay, so Paula is here with us today.
Yes.
Which we are absolutely honored to be in the presence of a lady.
Oh.
We don't get that treat very often around here at Sat Chats, but we love it each time we do because what are we trying to do here? We're trying to build the world's biggest Bitcoin welcome center. So to me, what that means is we have to go out there and evangelize with some of the most underserved among us. And I think ladies just, I don't know what it is, but there's just less female Bitcoiners than there are male Bitcoiners. And I want to play a hand in changing that.
Yeah. You're kind of looking at the welcome center. It's like, should I go hang out at the welcome center? Well, it's full of white guys from age 25 to 35.
Not
like,
good.
Oh.
Not attractive.
Oh, but you look at the welcome,
I think it's because the word Bitcoin, it sounds like something that you used to play with toys or Barbies or whatever. It doesn't sound like actually real money. It's like something, it's like a Bitcoin. And I think the challenge is like, how do you change the narrative of what it actually is, that it's actually a tangible thing?
Well, I first of all, first time I've heard that, but it makes so much sense. It's like, just play with your little Bitcoins over there and don't bother me. I'm doing real people stuff.
Oh man, dude. It's like, it's like a Bitcoin is like some young boy's Hot Wheels or something.
Yes. To be quite frank, when I first heard it and someone said, oh, this new thing is coming along, this Bitcoin, I was like, it sounds like the guys that play video games have now invented a new toy, a new kind of a currency that will allow you to buy things online, but it's not real. It's like swapping cards. When we used to swap cards for things, that's what I thought it was. And really, for those that know more about it, I'm still wrapping my head around the concept of how it actually is real money.
Okay.
It's like magic internet nerd money to you, which I get. Like you're probably not like, I'd like to learn more about what those nerdy guys are talking about.
Yeah, those guys, they smell great.
Yeah, pepperoni pizza and Mountain Dew. Like, give me a side.
Wow.
I like that you threw the Mountain Dew in. So like, that's a nice accent, but yeah.
That one hasn't showered in 4 days. Let's go learn about what he's interested in.
Yeah. Wait a second. Before we get started, okay, I have to share with you, Paula, and the rest of our audience. You are number 40. Sorry. You're number 52, Paula, because you are our 52nd guest on this show.
Whoa, I like it.
Yes. When we get to 99, okay, that's going to be Stuart's wife,
Kristen.
She will forever be known as number 99, Kristen, which I'm not sure how she feels about that.
Great.
She does. Okay,
Yeah.
Good. So we are going to march from episode guest number 50, which was yesterday, all the way through to 98. And one of the sub themes in each of these episodes are going to be, how do we help Stuart prepare for Kristen, because the objective of that episode is going to be, we want Kristen to let Stuart buy more Bitcoin, because she's a little adverse. She's like, Stuart, you can have play with your toys, but don't come over here and ask me to buy more Bitcoin, because we've got enough. Okay, we need to make sure we're saving and doing all this financially responsible stuff.
Well, you know, honestly, you just said the challenge that women feel. It's the idea of security, right? And in the world that we live in right now, and we're thinking about a currency that's floating, we're thinking it's a play currency and it's not tangible. I can't go into the grocery store technically and buy groceries with this floating currency, or maybe I can, right? It's not something that I can put a deposit on a home for security, right? Maybe I can. But the challenge is it's not something that people can see to actually be able to do something, but it takes real currency on how we've identified it to buy it. So it's like you're taking away from our security this sense of money to buy stuff that isn't something that we're used to visualizing. So in our mind, it's no different than gambling.
Well, so you're a mama bear, right?
Yeah.
Kristen's a mama bear. My wife, Ann, is a mama bear. And you all have this extra level of purpose that you got to make sure the cubs are taken care of. You got to make sure the cubs are fed.
Yes.
That we as you know, what are we?
Just a bunch of schmucks, dude. We're just a bunch of dope.
But the mama bear is always going to be the mama bear.
Yeah.
And if she gets a whiff of, this is risky, this could risk my ability to take care of my cubs. I get it. But the thing is, Paula, if you knew what we knew, and if Kristen knew to the level of conviction that Stuart has, what Stuart knows, she would feel like there is no other choice but Bitcoin. So we want to take you at least one step further in that. We're not going to be able to get you all the way there, but we're going to get you one more step further today. So Stuart, kick us off. How was that?
Well, that's great. That's great. I love seeing Chris come on fire. Chris is on fire for the road to number 99. He's so on fire. His beard and his hair have caught on fire. And he didn't have red hair before we announced the road to 99, but he has exploded with a hot flame. And I feel like there are many men out there who just want their wives to let them buy more Bitcoin. So you have already brought some incredible angles on Bitcoin, and we did kind of jump right into this conversation, but let me back up just a teensy bit here, Paula, and give you a moment to introduce yourself to our billionaires who are listening. Let us get to know you just a little bit better.
Okay, so Paula Howell is my name. Let's see, born in California, live now in Vancouver, BC, but also did a stint in 10 years in Australia. My background is actually in education. So I am a human behaviorist, child psychologist, and work in education, but I really did not like the politics of classroom teaching. So I ended up launching my own consulting practice that became project management for families and parents, helping them everywhere from ground zero, private school admissions, coaching, mediation, so on. Then I was a workaholic, made lots of money, did really, really well, which was the downfall, I guess, of the marriage, I would say, mainly because I was the prime breadwinner. Did really, really well, which I think has kind of some kind of pros and some cons, right? But at the end of the day, pretty much amicable divorce process, but then lots of realization and understanding about the power of being informed. So made tons of money, but if I had learned more about finance, I would have maybe used it better. So we kind of exchange our mind, I guess, our time in exchange for wealth and money, but time is very flippant in terms of how much time we had. So following the divorce in that process, I launched a society, Milestones of Love Society, which focuses on single mothers, but not that narrative of single mom, because we know it's a lot of work, it's a lot of challenge, but nobody gets there or arrives there because they want to be there. It's really because we're not informed on practice. And the number one reason why people fail in marriages is due to finances or conflicts around that. bottom line is, started to launch the society so that we would have an opportunity to kind of create informed independence. So it's not the idea that anyone's failed anywhere. It's not being informed. So the number one thing is that money is a currency that allows us to kind of move and have choice and resource, but money's shifting and changing. And I think for myself, one of the biggest areas that I am unaware of is about how it's shifting. I have a client that I've worked with that is very much into Bitcoin and has been like in love with Bitcoin since it's first launched, and has made quite a substantial amount of money and actually reinvested it and launched it in business, and is doing even further and has a very strong campaign that he's currently working on now, all funded through Bitcoin, which makes no sense to me. And I remember, I'd probably say it was about 2019, 2020. So I don't even know when Bitcoin came around, but that's the first buzz that he talked to me about it. And he had told me to buy it. I was like, yeah, no, I'm not buying that. What is that, right? And I remember there were Bitcoin places all around Vancouver that were talking about to buy Bitcoin. Vancouver, if you're not aware, is very populated by a lot of Asian families now. And in China and the Asia Pacific, there is a lot of families that really talk about Bitcoin, because it takes a lot to kind of make big money in Bitcoin. And I think the challenge that I have with Bitcoin is that I don't understand, if it's so tangible, why does it take real money to buy, and how can you spend it and use it for real things that you or normally can only buy with paper money, so to speak, right? So let's just differentiate as paper money, air money. So how are you able to buy things with your paper money to buy the coin, but then the coin, I can't walk into a store and add it to my phone and tap it and use it to buy groceries? It doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
So that's Paula in a nutshell. So yeah.
No, this is good. We have like a big plate of spaghetti right here in front of us, and we got to figure out which noodle we're going to start with first, right? So, you referenced several times this idea of real money. You need to use real money to buy Bitcoin. And you also talked about this concept of Bitcoin being basically like collectible Hot Wheels for, dudes. And also this idea that my wife, number 99, Kristen, the only guest, and probably the only guest ever to receive a number in advance, love that for her, might be approaching it from a perspective of security. Bitcoin doesn't feel secure because it's air money. It's not real money. I want to give you a choice. Do you want to talk about this concept of real money? Do you want to talk about this concept of security? Or do you want to talk about the concept of Bitcoin as a plaything for guys?
I think that the most important part to start from someone who is ignorant with the concept is really kind of the end game, is that we just want to leap into security because we are afraid. There's two elements. We do anything from the idea of pleasure or pain, right? And wanting to feel secure. So if I know that, a failure in the relationship was you make lots of money, you're successful, but then the world can change with COVID and different things. And if your family isn't balanced, that affects the security. Then if you're suggesting that the Bitcoin is an element to preserve that security, but you don't understand how, you're not going to take the risk to buy it, right?
Talk to me about what you think security is. It sounded like more money than you know what to do with equals security.
Yeah, I think the security is that I used to think, and that's why I found it really interesting, is that I used to think the harder you worked, right, the more creative you were. And if you love your job, that's a bonus. You'll make a lot of money. And that worked. That formula worked for me. But then I had a kid. So now the idea of having money is a lot more important. The example I can give is yesterday, I didn't have time to make breakfast. I ran to like Cobb's bread store. I don't know if you guys have a Cobb's there. I walked in, I bought, those pizza buns when you were a kid, like those pizza buns. And I bought those in hot crust buns, 6 hot crust buns and a pizza bun. And literally it was $19.75. And I'm like, $19.75 for 6 hot crust buns and a pizza bun. And I'm thinking to myself, minimum wage in BC is a little bit under $17. So I said to the girl, do you think these hot crust buns and this pizza bun are worth more than your hour of time? Right? And she's like, oh my God, I never really thought about it that way. And then I thought about it. What if she was sitting there? She just has to sell hot crust buns and a pizza bun, make $17 an hour, but then she's rolling in this cash with this so-called air coin. I don't get it. Right? So for me, I was trying to figure out, why are some people able to understand the matrix of Bitcoin and some people aren't? So is it that hidden gem of, remember in the 80s and 90s, it was all about stocks and kind of wealth portfolios. And now is it Bitcoin? And then 20, 30 years from now, you're going to go, I wish I bought Bitcoin, right? But I don't know. There's not enough about it. And it's almost like, is the psychological narrative that that's what people want you to have? Because then people are getting richer on it because of that. And then when we've got like these shows or people are talking a bit Bitcoin, we're not really drilling really into like what it is. Because what is it? Because you can't see it. I keep picturing those gold chocolate coins. That's what I keep picturing. Those gold chocolate coins coming out of St. Patty's Day. That's what I keep picturing, and coming out of this tiny little box machine going Bitcoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. And I don't really go did I hit a jackpot? What happened? Did I put in a magic coin and all this money came out, right? And is it a secret process? It's like an underworld that I don't know, because whenever I meet anyone that's been really successful in Bitcoin, they tell me, hey, you got to buy some Bitcoin. It's like a little secret. But I'm trying to understand, why is it the secret when it's making lots of money?
Paula, I want to make you, I hope to help you feel like what you're feeling right now is totally normal, totally valid. Anyone who starts down the path of learning about Bitcoin feels the way that you feel right now. I used to feel that way. Stuart felt that way for a long time.
Yeah.
We've talked to a lot of people about Bitcoin, and very few of them can honestly tell us that they understood Bitcoin from the first moment that they laid eyes on it. What I can tell you is the day that everything changed for me. The moment things changed for me is when I read a book called The Bitcoin Standard, which we advocate hardcore on this show that people go out and read, because as much as we wish we could, we are not going to be able to unpack all that you need to know to experience the level of conviction about Bitcoin that Stuart and I do on this 45-minute episode.
Do you sell Bitcoin?
No, we don't sell. We don't sell anything. We don't have
No, I'm just trying to understand. Is it a sellable thing? Remember when stocks? Are you selling who's selling Bitcoin?
So think of Bitcoin like gold. Okay, in order to get gold, you have to go dig gold out of the earth. You have to mine it. Bitcoin is the same thing, but instead of physically going out and mining the earth to mine Bitcoin, it's a digital process. Okay, so what is Bitcoin first and foremost? You asked about Bitcoin and security. The person or the people who started Bitcoin, they did it because they wanted a more secure form of money.
But how secure is money? So my question is if we're putting our faith in the idea that this digital product of money is going to somehow create more money, why can't the idea that it might break and somebody's going to take all the money, right, is a fear that I know I consider when I think about it. So you've got someone who's made something digital. On a logical sense, it makes sense to me. Everything's becoming digitalized. Money in general, the way that we make money as a paper product is difficult. We look at our countries and we look at the way we exchange money. We look at all of those things. It makes sense to have a digital currency. The challenge I have with that is that who's the big brother who's watching the fiber optics of that currency, right? Before, when we had money paper and we distribute it to X, Y, and Z, we could actually tangibly see it, feel it, and hold it. But because it's digital, what's the next evolution of it that allows us to feel the same security we do with tangible paper money, right? Are we releasing our control with it? Am I putting all my money into this digital arena, my real tangible old school money, and I'm putting it into a digital airspace? And is somebody going to snip the cord and rewire it all to themselves? And I'm trying to understand most people who want to invest in Bitcoin, who are like everyday people, are thinking about ways to stop working at the bakery for $17 an hour, right? And they want to spend more time with their family. So how do we change the narrative around it to create that sense of, security, safety, and a mix of bit of risk, but let them know that there's that it actually is just something that in time will make more sense, but you have to start small to invest in it to see it. But right now I just hear, put it in this coin, it's going to float around the universe and it's going to come up with something. And that's the part that's confusing.
Well, I think the information is out there. It's just, that's one of the things we're here to do, is inspire people to go seek it out and consume the information, because it is there.
Now I'm going, okay, maybe I'll take $100 and play it. But how does it become tangible now?
Tangible in terms of how do you buy stuff with?
No, how do I, does it cash out? Can I pull it out, right? Can I put $100 in and it rises to $600 now? Can I go, I want to buy Paige, my daughter, a bike. Can I pull $200 out, right? Are there penalties? Are there whatever? Can it be equated into cash flow?
Sure. So just like buying a stock or a bond or a home, you put your money into that thing, and then later, when it has appreciated in value, hopefully, you sell some or all of it, and you get money back. You get loonies back, right? In the case of a stock or a bond or a home, when you sell that, your government, your friendly local nation state, bless them, is going to say, hey, looks like you made some money while being a citizen of my country. I need a piece of that, right? And you pay your capital gains tax on the value of that stock that has increased, right? So if you bought $100 worth of stock, okay, you got it. In a home, sometimes, there's ways to be like, well,
with Bitcoin though, does it work the same way? So if I made $500 in Bitcoin, I only invested 100, am I going to be taxed the same way as if I bought a stock, or can I pull it out?
You'll be taxed the same way. So if you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin, it went to $500 and you sold it, they would say, well, you made $400. So we need 25% of that, or 30%.
Is it digital percentage, or am I actually able to pull out cash to buy a bike, or is it digital pull out? Because I can't go to, you know what I mean? Okay, so this is the part that, and I'm sure we have to, I think this is the part that the clarity of reasoning is important. If there's a digital interface, and I'm totally all over that, and I get that it's shifting that there, then why haven't they created it where I can tap it as a digital entity? Why does it convert back to cash?
So because not enough Paulas get it yet. So there is a payment network that allows you to tap to pay with your sats, right? So we talked about how sats are the smallest part of a Bitcoin, right? You're not going to go to the grocery store with a single Bitcoin worth $77,000 and say, I'd like to buy my $200 grocery bill with this, please. So each Bitcoin breaks up into 100 million sats, the same way a dollar breaks up into 100 pennies. And, you wouldn't pay with a single Bitcoin. You might pay with 200,000 sats, might be the same as $200. And that's about where we are right now. Right now, $1 is worth about 1,000 sats. So you say, okay, I'm going to take my phone. Boop. I just paid 200,000 sats for my groceries. We're good to go. That is possible in some areas of the world, but the future is unevenly distributed. So just because something exists somewhere in the world doesn't mean it exists everywhere in the world.
Okay, so your theory is then, because you're when you use the actual terms, because I'm not completely familiar with them yet, it makes my head spin a bit. So I have to be cautious and taking it all in. So then what you're saying is that Bitcoin is not about a now. It's not about something you're going to say, I'm going to buy this Bitcoin so that it raises and I'm going to pull it out so I can buy Paige a bike. It's not that. It's about thinking about it as like long-term planning, because the world will catch up to it. So it's like, if you look at it as, this is another way that revenue can go up higher, like you can earn more money, but it's not something for quick fixes, but it is something that you can place money into, because as much as it sounds scary right now, I remember, like I was like 78, I was born, right? So I remember thinking that CDs were cool, right? And my daughter's like, what's this? I'm like, what? And I remember thinking to myself, that's so bizarre, because I did that to my mom regarding other things before, right? And now I'm in that position where she's doing it to me, and she's only 9. So I think the world is rapidly changing. And if you look at those people who say they manifest, all they're saying is like the money's like all around and you have to like think about it. Well, it is all around technically, right? It's just that we haven't caught up to it. So what you're saying is that it is really tangible, but it's not a quick fix to problems. And that's the reality of it. It's not a quick fix to shortcomings in financial things in your life. You still have to play the game of the envelopes and all that stuff so you can see where your extras are. But what you're saying is that where the extras are, instead of maybe putting it into a locked in GIC or retirement thing, which I think by the time people get to that point, the government's not going to have that money anymore to give back to you, is that ultimately the money there is not government owned that way. They're not using the money. And if you don't pull it out, the government's not taking the money. And in a period of time, that money will be able to come back to you because the world will catch up. Because I know that certain parts of China, you can tap it, you know, and with our exchanges and everything else and everything that's happening right now, I think that there is a strong possibility that money will have to be tapped because we won't have the trees and those kinds of things to do it. We went to plastic money in Australia, right? So ultimately, I do believe in the idea that money's floating for real. I just didn't understand about the idea that it's not tangible right now. And I'm okay with that, right? If I know that it's okay, if I understand that I can't tap my phone to buy a bike today, I get it. Okay. If it's not going to stop the person who's working for $17 an hour today, they just want to know the truth, that it's not going to stop you today. Okay. But if you take 50 cents of that and put it towards that, I don't know, C thing that you said, ultimately it's going to have so many more coins later on, right? And maybe later on you'll be able to tap it out, but it will have a stronger value than that so-called percentage that the government takes for your so-called retirement later. That's kind of like floaty right now.
Paula's literally getting it in real time, and
Yep.
this is incredible.
Yep.
Think about your client who invested $1 million into Bitcoin, now has $800 million because of how Bitcoin has appreciated over time, and can pull out $1 million for himself while having 799 million left to go.
Like, I don't expect someone to take their whole paycheck that like, hey honey, like I just made like $3,000 this month. I took my $3,000 and I totally put it into this floating money. Like, no, I don't think you should do that, because I think that would screw things up. But I think if you literally focus on the fact that you don't want to be in that situation of challenge, like I made 6 figures for like many years, right? And if I'd only known to put it into those different items, then things would have been different, because you wouldn't be thinking about, you know, risk or challenge or whatever, because you would have a plan B that you could rely on, right? So what I'm saying is that the narrative is shifting for me in terms of what it is. I think I'm looking at it now as a different form of investing, whereas before it was sounding almost like a toy that you can play with. And when I think about money as a toy, I think of the wealthy that can afford risk. And when I think of money as a toy, I think about it as irresponsibility. And when I think about it, I think about not being informed. But what you're saying is that you still have to do what's current. You still have to do the envelopes or whatever. You still have to be mindful of your money, but you have to leave a little bit of space to invest in this new currency, because it is going to shift. Like the 8-track record, the CD player, the little iPod thing to whatever, it's going to shift, right?
Yeah, I'm asking you to go on Coinbase, you know, or Robinhood, or one of these like kind of trading apps that you're familiar with, where you jump on and you buy a little bit of this, but and each month you buy $50 worth of Bitcoin each month, one time, $50 worth of Bitcoin. That's what I'm asking for. I'm not asking for Paula to yeet the entirety of her wealth into Bitcoin or to go grab a pair of sunglasses to protect me and my loved ones from your Bitcoin laser eyes. I'm just asking for $50 a month, because here's why, Paula. They did a study. This is the last thing I'll say before we recap. $50 a month, they put it into a savings account over 5 years. That gets you to $3,000 at the end of that 5-year period. $50 a month, 12 months is $600 a year. Times 5 is $3,000. And they calculated the little piddly amount that you get, 1% on your savings account, something like that. So you ended up with like $3,100 or $3,200, maybe max, right? So it's like, okay, well, if you save $50 a month, then after 5 years, you'll have $3,000 plus $100 or $200 in interest from the bank. Great. Let's buy $50 worth of gold each month for a 5-year period. Same 5-year period, $50 a month over a 5-year period. That is a $3,000 investment. Well, the price of gold effectively doubled over that 5-year period. So you end up with not $3,000 or $3,200, but $6,000. Wow. Hey, my money doubles if I save in gold instead of dollars. Pretty neat. Well, Paula, they also bought $50 worth of Bitcoin each month over that same 5-year period. $3,000 investment. At the end of that time, that individual ended up with $250,000.
No, and I heard all of those before, right? My thing is that it's the period of the 1 to 5 years, because people are hurting now, right? So they're thinking about the hurting now. And the idea of it's just the same way that a GIC, it may be worth this today and this tomorrow, but it's still locked in money. I think that the narrative is more about the idea that the reality is our world is shifting, and that's not going to be today. It's not going to be today. Just like your whatever 401k or whatever the heck it is isn't today either, right? Like retirement age in BC is now moved from, remember, it used to be 55. Now it's turned to 65, right? So in the period of time, we've jumped it already 10. It's probably going to go to 75 now soon, right? The point is that everything is shifting and it's inevitable, but we're still locked in a generational age of where we are, that we have these other ideas around it, like the 8-track, the CD, whatever. So ultimately, it's not about convincing me that it's going to make money later. I think what it's really about is, and that's where it freezes, is that I'm convinced now that there's validity to it. The next step is that there's also, with anything that has validity, is a lot of people who are con artists in the process, right? And use the naivety of it. So how do you scan with your cybersecurity background? How do you scan and determine what source you're going to use to make those investments? Because they're not a credible bank, so to speak, or someone that you see. So I think for me, the next step in understanding is, how do I choose? Because I get tons of telemarketer people who call me and say, hey, we're like Bitcoin people, do I make sense of it? And they go through it and I hang up on them, right? Or I hear people who say that they put money in, they thought it was Bitcoin thing and it's not, it was a scam. So the next step is, how do you vet the systems that are real and the ones that aren't? Right?
So probably the easiest place to start would be something like Coinbase. They're kind of like the McDonald's of Bitcoin. They're the biggest. They've been around the longest. Wall Street trusts Coinbase with its Bitcoin. They are vetted and secured a million ways from Sunday. And you just download their app, you sign up for it, you connect your bank account, and then you say, I want $100 worth of Bitcoin. They say, sure, here you go. We believe in taking Bitcoin into your own hands, because the safest place for your money is with you. So we actually prefer Bitcoin Well, which is a publicly traded Canadian company that delivers your Bitcoin directly to your own wallet on your phone or on your desktop. And that is as complicated as downloading a banking app and signing up for it, or downloading a social media platform and signing up for it. It ain't hard. So you get yourself your wallet, you go on Bitcoin Well, you connect your bank account. And actually in Canada, you guys get to do really cool things. You can do that e-transfer, whatever y'all have up there in Canada, where you can y'all have like a electronic payment system already rolling up there. So that's who I would recommend is Bitcoin Well. There's the extra step of getting your own wallet in place, but you can go to, and we do have an affiliation with them now. You can actually Bitcoin Well. Yeah. So you can go to bitcoinwell.com/satchats. There'll be a little video from us. Yeah, absolutely. And you'll get an email tomorrow. If you choose the sats here in a minute, you'll get an email tomorrow that shows you how to do all this, and we'll be here for you every step of the way. We're going to help you because we believe in Bitcoin so much that we just want people to have Bitcoin.
Well, my honest like, decision for wanting to be part of this, and I know we're wrapping up soon, is because ultimately I think that I think that family is crucially and it's important. Okay. And I think that being on the lens where life was like perfect in the eyes of perfection, right? In those rose colored glasses, that it was the lack of informed resource that caused a downfall. And then it's harder to fix something at the end. Okay. And I think I see it so often, not just in my own world, but also in the world that I work in. And now navigating it as a single mother who had all the background, all the paper on the wall, all those different things, the lack of credibility and understanding finance has become something that I now go, oh my God, I needed to really know that stronger and better. So instead of hitting my mind against it, I've said to myself that I want to create something that's informed. And that's why the society is there, to focus on informed independence. And I think that so many single mothers could have more empowered informational source if they knew that just a simple dollar can change the season that they're in right now from a period of time. And I think that if we look at families and we were able to construct a system that combined the Gordon Ramsay idea or whatever other person and kind of broke it into a pocket that gave you another envelope for Bitcoin, then I think there would be a little bit better of kind of like a system of family that was more realistic. So as much as we can look at it from a paradigm of, whatever it's going to give you 250,000 in 5 years. I can't promise that to anybody right now, but I can also promise that, your GIC is also going to be available when you want to cash it out, right? Just like nobody else can promise that. But I can give them tangible concept to know that ultimately, I also didn't know that we would be moving from CDs to iPods either. I didn't know that either, right? It happened. So what I'm saying is you're in cybersecurity, so you can see the network of that. I'm in education, I'm in family planning, and I can see the failures in that, right? Personally and professionally. And it still comes down to the same facet, which is security. Okay. And the pleasure and pain of that. So what I'm saying is if there's a medium that we can at least affix to somebody to say that this is changing in accordance to how our times are changing, and while they may not feel comfortable with you right now because of the idea that it is kind of floating through manifestation, it is actually something that will see its fruitfulness later. Right? So I am interested in learning more about it. I will download that book because it does seem to be interesting, right? And I do thank you for sharing it, because it was really interesting for me to understand more about Bitcoin and not just see it from the lens of my client who had zillions and nothing to lose, right? And that's what I wanted to understand. So my thing is that ultimately I wanted to understand it from a perspective and the whys behind it.
For sure. So it's been a great conversation, and we'll recap the conversation here with Paula. Paula, California born, Vancouver currently, in the kind of like private consultation for education space, psychology, that kind of world. Worked really hard, made a bunch of money. Marriage, not so much. Got the divorce, realized that having enough information, achieving a balance, having security, de-risking, these are all important concepts. But when someone like me in a ball cap, sunglasses, and a beard, for goodness sake, literally hiding the entirety of who I am from neck up, says bitcoinsthebomb.com, and it is the most secure money, it is the least risky money, and it's the most real money, you're like, yeah, right, random sketchy dude, get your collectible Hot Wheels out of my face.
Yep.
So we talked about how there is that perception of there being potentially some non-security, potentially some risk, but we also got into this idea that Chris has spent time wrestling with Bitcoin. I spent time wrestling with Bitcoin. Almost everybody has to wrestle with Bitcoin until it finally clicks for them. And one way to wrestle with Bitcoin is to read the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean Ammous. We do say Saifedean first here. It's also to watch or listen to more episodes of Sat Chats if you're in front of your YouTube, or if you're running along the water there in BC with your earbuds in, and just continue to learn as much as you can, because people who are making the switch from 8 tracks to vinyl records are getting out ahead, and people that are switching from vinyl records to CDs are getting out even further ahead, and people switching from CDs to iPods going even further than that. And then people that just have smartphones with Spotify or Apple Music are going the furthest of everyone. So find the truest upgrade, because the world is changing. Everything is becoming digital, and you don't need to expose yourself to what you might perceive to be unnecessary risk. All you got to do is find a couple of bucks a week, maybe $50 a month, put it into Bitcoin through Coinbase or through bitcoinwell.com/satchats. And over time, you will see that you can get a foothold financially, right? Whether you're already a billionaire or not.
I think the most important caveat you should end on with it is it's not a gain for you. It's a change of, like, when people were trying to convince people to switch to an Apple computer. That's all you're trying to say. And I think that's the idea, is that ultimately we are gonna like shift and change. The world is gonna be like things that are so much more different than what we're accustomed to. But if we don't take that little bit of like risk of moving with the times, our old idea of our 401k or whatever it is, or our GICs that will be available later, are not going to move, because the other things are going to move and they're not going to be available to us. And we're going to feel like, wow, I should have done that. So it's ultimately just accepting the shift. And I think it's not always going to sound positive. Like, it isn't. It's not going to always sound positive, right? There's going to be those fears that are in there. There's going to be all of that. But wouldn't it feel, I know for myself, not realizing that the information was there before and I just didn't know how to access it or be informed, and it led to different outcomes, as opposed to being able to say, I've been informed, I don't necessarily get it to 100% of a T, but I'm willing to keep my mind open, and while I'm learning, I'll put in 50 cents every week in a jar as an extra envelope while I'm doing what I'm comfortable with. And maybe it may shift, right? It's not like you're losing heaps. So I think it's about kind of like gradually building the trust. And I think that's the same way, is that it's gradually building the trust. And it's about, I would say my only recommendation is that I gain the trust from you guys over the time, right? But it's still something that's developing, right? And I think it's the same sort of thing with Bitcoin, is that your viewers or listeners have to slowly gain the trust. And it doesn't need to be a close every call, right? It can leave some room for growth. Like, I would love to circle back and kind of learn about the scams out there. I'd like to hear about some of them. I'd like to understand, did you go through any of that when you were researching?
So we do ask each of our guests if they'd be willing to come back on in 9 months, because you can't really fit everything into a single chat about sats. We could pick up on all these open threads and keep working with you, right? Would you be willing to come back on in 9 months, Paula?
Yeah, like, I'd love to be able to say, like, let's come back in 9 months. I'll put like $1 into Bitcoin, right? Whatever. Like, I'll see what happens in 9 months. I'll try it out. I'm trying to create the society that I'm creating. I want to change the narrative behind single mothers. Like, being a single mother sucks in all realms, but at the end of the day, it doesn't have to, because you can be informed and take back your power, autonomy, and self. So I'm trying to create portions and parts of systems, and this is one that I think I want to add, right? So yeah, I'll be an experiment on myself. Okay, I'll take a portion of it, I'll play it out, and in 9 months, I'll circle back. I'll research it, I'll write it out, give me a little project. yeah, I'd be willing to come back and circle it through.
Well-
and where can people go if they want to engage with that foundation or that organization that you created for the Milestones of Love? Where can they?
So yeah, so it's www.milestonesofloveco.com, right?
So we are hoping that we will be able to stack your first $50 for you. And you'll have the whole month to keep learning about Bitcoin before you decide if you want to buy another $50 worth from wherever it may be. But before we make you that gift of either $50 or $50 worth of Bitcoin, we're going to take a quick brain break for our sponsor, Ithaca Hummus. Now, the flavor that you chose in your intake form was their latest collaboration with Grassa olive oil.
Okay.
So we've got ourselves a little bit of woven wheat here. And I'm going to get myself a fat glob of this Ithaca Hummus olive oil and sea salt collaboration with Grassa. I'll serve as your taste buds here today in the studio. Here we go.
Real good. Fat glob is growing on me. I didn't like that at first.
Just a real clean, salty olive oil flavor.
Beautiful.
Really like that. Now, Ithaca Hummus not yet in Vancouver.
No.
So the next time, maybe if you travel down to California for some reason, or even you cross the border into the state of Washington, you can grab some at Whole Foods. Maybe try it out. It's absolutely delicious.
So good. All right, Paula. So here on the Sat Chats podcast, we believe in value for value. You showed up today. You gave us a little more than an hour of your time. So as a small token of our appreciation, we'd like to give you the choice between $50, which Stuart has there, or $50 worth of Bitcoin. Look at the Clark Moody Bitcoin dashboard behind me. The exchange rate of one Bitcoin is $77,020 or 1,298 sats per dollar times 50. That's 64,900 sats or $50.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's one of those decision-making things because that's like U.S. currency to Canadian currency is like almost like $100, right? And I really feel like it's one of those decisions that you think back 10 years from now. So I'm going to go with the sats.
Yes.
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 Oh my God.
I was nervous.
Come on, Paula. Yes.
Gosh,
oh
you.
my
Thank
gosh.
You, Paula.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yes. Paula. Yes. So we are on the road to number 99, Kristen. And to honor my wife, we want to help every single woman that we possibly can get enough information about this stinky old male armpit nerd money junk to where they can stack their first sats and start to build some generational wealth, because it's so important to empower women in that way. So, Paula, you are absolutely, we love you. You bring our scoreboard to 47 guests who have stacked the sats and 5 who chose the cash. We can't wait to bring you back on in 9 months and see how much you've learned, what new questions you have, how that might have had an impact on you between now and then. This is the part of the show where we ask our satillionaires watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to exchange their value for our value. Smash the subscribe button on YouTube to lock in your slot, right? You will be entered auto-magically into a 1,000,000 sat giveaway. Not 66,000 sats, Paula, 1 million. And there's only about 400 slots left. So don't be that guy or that girl who sits on it. And by the time you get around to it, you're subscriber number 1001. That would hurt.
Too late.
Subscribe on YouTube, like the show, 5 stars on Spotify. If you want to support us directly Our on-chain Bitcoin address is in the show notes. You can zap us your sats on the Lightning Network, satchats@getalby.com. Remember, Sat Chats is for educational purposes only and should not be construed as financial advice. Also, our guests' views are their own. Thanks so much, Satzillionaires. We'll see you on the next one.